This is the story of our life. Oh, we are live. Tampa Bay Spirits presents Haunted Campfire Tales Live. Welcome. Gather around the fire. Get comfortable, but not too comfortable. The true ghost tales are about to unfold. Hello.
Hi, I'm Rob.
I'm Joan.
I'm Jess.
I'm Les.
I'm Beth.
I'm Joy.
I'm Robin.
Hi.
And we're the Tampa Bay Spirits.
Yeah, we're glad that you're here. Yeah, we're a much bigger group than this.
Yes.
Tonight we want to talk to you about our latest investigation. Oh, we've got a comment first. Paul says, hello, good evening, fellow spookies. Good evening, Paul.
Good evening.
Hi, Paul.
And Joe Conjal says, hi, everyone.
Hey, Joe.
Hi,
Hi,
Joe.
Joe.
Hope your day
Hi,
went
Joe.
better today.
Yeah, me too. We're hoping Joe's day went better than his day went yesterday because it was a very bad day.
Oh.
So we went to May Stringer on October 9th.
In Brooksville.
No,
Florida.
November 9th. In November 9th in Brooksville, which was a great weekend that we chose. It was Veterans Day weekend. And Brookville was crazy.
Veterans there.
And anyway, we had an amazing night, and we'll tell you about some of that stuff. Joe Conjal says much better today. Thanks. Good. We had some amazing experiences there, and we actually have an almost 20-minute recording that we'd like you to listen to. It's Beth doing the Estes method and various people from our team asking questions, and the answers are incredible to me. It's crazy because, in the Estes method, she's listening to white noise and she has headphones on, and as Marjorie Deering likes to call it, a training bra over her eyes, which is
A blindfold.
a blindfold. And she can't hear us or see us or know anything that's happening. So some of the answers are quite remarkable. Now, some of the comments are hard to, understand what the spirit is talking about, but some of them are really, really amazing.
Right, and for those of you who have never heard of May Stringer House, Jesse, did you want to say a little bit about it?
Nope.
Or is your throat gonna?
I can. Beth, do you have a good grasp on the history of that house?
I wasn't prepared, so I
wasn't either, but we're gonna wing it. It was built in 1852, and it has 14 rooms. It's now a museum, and it was at one point actually even abandoned and set to be made into a medical complex. But it was purchased by the Hernando Historical Association, and today it is a museum. It's beautiful. It is. I highly recommend you go there, whether you want to investigate or not, just because if you are in the area, because it is beautiful. It's a beautiful home.
well cared for.
And
museum.
they have done a wonderful job there. All of the docents there are also fantastic. So let's see. Some of the occupants that left there or lived there and left there, they're not, we think, I mean, who's to say? That's what we want to find out. In 1852, John May and his family bought the land and they built the original 4 rooms of the house that currently stand there. He did not get to live in his home for long because he passed away only 3 years after it was built. His widow, Marina, remarried, and she and her husband, who had just recently returned from the Civil War, Frank Saxon, lived there. While they lived there, they had a child who they picked an amazing name for. Her name was Jessie. So Marina, this is actually something I wasn't aware of. I don't know if y'all were aware of this before, but Marina passed away during childbirth with Jessie. So I did not realize that. It does not specify if she was at the home when she gave birth. But a very sad fact about the house is that Jessie actually did pass away as well when she was only 3. Her cause of death has been lost over the years, but there are reports of her being seen at the house, or of paranormal phenomenon happening around items that are associated with her in the house. So Frank Saxon then remarried, and she didn't want to live there anymore. When she married Frank, and she was like, I don't want to live in this sad home with all this tragedy surrounding it. So they sold it to Dr. Sheldon Stringer, hence the May Stringer home. So Dr. Stringer added 10 rooms then at that point. I don't know. Let's see. I'm not sure what year that happened in, but the last Stringer left the house in 1945. So it sounds like it was this all happened pretty quickly. So the Stringers then lived there. Dr. Stringer obviously was a doctor. And then the last Stringers left in 1945. At this point now, like I said, it is a museum, and it does not just hold artifacts from the Stringer family, but it also holds artifacts from the area, right? So a lot of people have donated artifacts from local history in the area. So there are instruments from Dr. Stringer. Like there's a medical table, and there are medical instruments, and they have a whole doctor's room set up. They have a communications room set up with devices from the military, right, for communication in the war. And then they have lots of different artifacts that people have just brought to the home to donate to the museum. One of them is in the attic, and it is a trunk, that the type of trunk that they believe a traveling performer would have used. And they believe that an entity came with that trunk. So people, including us, have experienced communicating with an entity that everyone calls Gary up in the attic, and who they believe was a performer.
He's quite a comedian.
We believe he was quite a performer.
Yeah, he definitely has a very playful, fun vibe. And when I did the Estes method up in the attic near that trunk, last year when we went, had a lot of fun interaction. And one of the things that I kept getting through the Estes method, so when I was blindfolded and I had the headphones on, is I kept feeling like I was hearing like almost like an opera singer, like going, oh, and like that's what they wanted me to do. And so I kept doing that and then laughing because I felt silly doing that. Um, so, definitely feels like that could be accurate. Another thing happened during that Estes session was um, Beth had mentioned last time I was here, I got scratched. And what I heard and didn't know, I couldn't hear what Beth was saying, but what I responded with was, that was the cat. And I remember thinking, I think I said it a couple times. I said, that was the cat, like I couldn't quite understand why I would be saying that was the cat, but that's what I was hearing. So I went with it. Had no idea it matched so well to what she had just asked.
Yes,
And
yes, she literally said, the last time that I was here, I was
was
scratched. And Beth, did you say, was that you?
Yes, I said, was that you? And
And then
then
Jesse said that was the cat.
that was the cat. And we all burst out laughing. I mean, Jesse didn't know all this was going on
No,
because
I had
we're
no
all
idea.
laughing hysterically.
And later, when we told the docents about it, they said, "Oh my gosh, there's people have reported interacting with a ghost cat, for lack
Which
of a
we
better word."
didn't,
Right.
which was
We
crazy.
didn't know.
And
No.
during that same session, we kept asking him to turn on the flashlight. And, we've explained to you guys before that you just turn it on ever so slightly so that they can turn it on themselves, right? And the docents had told us, oh, Gary loves to turn on the flashlight. And we kept asking him to, and it never happened, right? And so Jess is doing this Estes method. And then right towards the end of the night, I mean, past midnight now, all of a sudden, and Jess can't see this, the flashlight's sitting up on top of the trunk near her. The flashlight turns on for the first time. So we're like, oh. And then Jess goes, did you see that? And we're like, what? It was like,
um,
Gary goes, did you see that? I did that.
so joke. Oh, sorry, Dad.
Yeah, I was going to say, as long as we're talking about the cat
Mm-hmm.
and we're talking about the trunk,
Mm-hmm.
right? We
Oh.
have a picture. We had a static camera
Yes.
on the trunk in the attic all evening, all night. It was there
This was from the recent investigation on the
from just
9th.
just a couple weeks ago, and everyone had left. We had done a session there. Everyone had left except one person, Dan, and he was at the other end of the room.
Yeah.
Just ghost
Taking
hunting
pictures.
and taking pictures and stuff like that. So he was a long ways away from this, and it was all quiet, nothing happening. So we're going to show you a little film clip. It's only 18 seconds long, but you tell us if you think it's a cat. Oh, and what's on the floor is a cat ball that lights up when it gets batted by a cat.
An actual cat toy that you can just buy
It's an
for
actual cat
cats.
toy. Yeah.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
something that Les had invested in.
Totally invested.
That's the G version. Okay, so here we go. See what you think. It goes off and lights up again.
Been in the attic earlier that evening, and the cat balls had gone off before.
Yes.
And so when they did that, we started like stepping close to it, stepping on different boards to see if we could get it to go off again. And we were not able to replicate that.
Yes.
It was not because of the flooring.
Right. Joe Conjal did ask Jess, were there any ghosts caught reading a comic book while sitting on the toilet? And I will tell you, Joe, not at May Stringer, that I know of. But for all I know, there was one. I did use the bathroom there. So you know. But I could encourage you to get a little flashlight and put it in your bathroom and set it to where, you know, someone could change it. And at night, when you need to go to the bathroom, you can walk in and before you use the bathroom, say, "Is there anyone here reading a comic book on the toilet?" And maybe you'll get an answer. "Turn on the light for me."
No, he's going to try
Okay,
that
there are a
tonight.
couple of
Okay,
comments.
I encourage it.
George Dismuke says, "Who do I say hello to first?"
All right,
We'll all say hello, George.
Hi,
Hi,
George.
George.
And then Paul Hollis has an actual serious question. When the light went off, was there an orb that rose from the toy? No, that was actually a bug, but
Yeah,
we'll
Or
run it
dust.
through you again.
we'll show
or
you again.
dust.
And because I think George might have come in.
George probably came in after that happened,
that
but
happened.
then
So-
you'll see what Paul's talking about.
Right. And a little before that, there were several bugs that flew across that way.
And in this video, to the right of where the cat ball is, that is the trunk that we were referring to, that people
Right.
refer to as Gary's trunk.
And that's
Yeah.
what Paul thought was the
Yep, there-
orb.
there
and
was
I
a
think
bug
that
that-
was probably a bug.
The bug just went straight up there.
Okay,
What
so
was that little
today,
thing on the, sorry,
go ahead.
there's something on the floor next to the cat ball to the right that like flashed
That's
for a second,
another
like
piece
the
of
light
equipment.
actually shone on it.
Okay.
The REM pod?
That's the
You know,
round bug.
down
No,
down
to the right.
Oh, to the right. No, I think
Right.
that's
Isn't-
like a nail or something in the floor.
Okay, because it flares for a second, like
Yeah.
the light is hitting it.
I think that it's flaring from the cat ball. Yeah. Oh, I don't
Oh,
know.
okay. You know what it was? It was the bug that passed right over it. I just saw it that time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Darn big
There's
bug.
another comment.
Close to the camera, maybe.
Was
the orb in that video the cat
Paul
Joe
Wallace said,
Crundle?
darn big bug. Okay, the reason that he's saying that, if you want to play that again, that would be cool. Was the orb in that video the cat?
No.
No,
I don't think so.
I don't think that
I
was.
don't think it was an orb.
I don't think it was an orb. Oh, I think it was. Well, let's look at it again.
I wish we could pause it, but we can't.
Yeah,
Oops.
hide that. No,
Oh,
not
geez.
hide that.
Oh, brother. Okay.
There, that's what he's talking about.
Right. And there was
And there was another
down,
one.
down center.
I really think those are bugs, and I know that
Yeah.
it looks big, but that's because it's showing up under an IR
Proximity.
light,
Yeah. The
and it
infrared amplifies it.
It
Yeah.
does. So, I mean, I wish it was an orb, but I don't think that it is an orb.
Sorry.
Anyway, it takes a lot to push that, to get that to go, that
The cat ball.
to go off. It doesn't just take touching it. It takes a little bit of a push, you know?
Yeah. And I even brought it home. I tried ours. Okay. Those were Liz's cat balls. We have our own cat
Yeah.
balls. And I took one of our cat balls and I put it on my washing machine while it was going, while it was in the spin cycle, to see if the vibration, like maybe if there'd been a vibration on the floor, because this is a very old building, right? If that would turn the light on, and it was sitting right on the washing machine and it didn't turn on. So I think something pretty much
did
had to touch it.
Our guess is the cat.
Our
pretty
guess
much.
is the cat, or it could have
It could
been
have
Gary.
It could have been Jessie, the little Jessie, the 3-year-old.
Yeah, the 3-year-old Jessie. Yeah,
And
no,
she could have been up there playing
Our
around,
Jessie.
and
Yeah.
you know.
Well, then we have another interesting thing. Go ahead.
Hold on. I think Beth were you going to say something, Beth?
I was going to talk a little bit about orbs. A lot of times when we see an orb that is like self-illuminated, those are the ones that we find more interesting. Oftentimes when they're just pale, like the ones that we saw in that video, it could be dust, it could be bugs, it could be moisture, probably not moisture in the attic.
No.
But most definitely when you go outside, you see a lot of those type of orbs that are moisture in the air. Self-illuminated ones are the ones that have, you can see what may look like a face inside. Those are the ones that usually draw our interest, and we investigate those further.
Those are almost perfectly round usually.
Right. Yeah.
You know, They're
A real orb.
a
Yeah.
real one, yeah.
A ghost
And we have a couple of pictures from Gettysburg that we showed the last time.
Yeah. There are actual
yeah.
orbs.
Now,
And
on video, you can usually tell, like, if something is moving in a what feels like it's almost like a sentient pattern, right? So it's not just wobbling and drifting through on like all the other little pieces of dust and everything in the room, but it's going and it's changing direction and it's going in um, what feels like a self-directed pattern, in other words, instead of just the chaos of what dust looks like when you see it in a sunbeam. That is a lot more convincing as an orb as opposed to what we were seeing on the video.
yeah,
I think.
like we've run our static cameras here in our house a number of times just to actually to test on that type of thing, dust orbs and bug orbs and stuff like that. And we've seen these two orbs, and this is disturbing to me even more than once, that have flown together from a very determined pattern into our bedroom from the other side of the house. And I mean, it's like a straight path, like, and bugs kind of go like this, and dust follows like an air current from your AC or heating and stuff like that. So, why they're always heading into our bedroom, I don't know.
Very disturbing.
Yeah, it is. It's like, all right, turn off the static cameras. We're not going to do that anymore. Okay, this next one is pretty interesting, I think.
Yeah.
So,
In the doctor's office, was on the second floor, right? Or is that? Yeah, that was on the second floor, right?
Doctor's
It's
office
on
is
the first floor.
First
Yeah.
floor. Okay, down on the first floor.
it was James's bedroom, right?
No, the doctor's
No.
office.
No, it was the root. Okay.
James's bedroom was on the second floor.
Okay.
Yes.
At any rate, the doctor's office, pretty big room. The static camera is on one end of the room. And in this video, you're going to watch on the left-hand side, there's a glass case, okay, a large bookcase kind of looking thing with the glass front on it. It is filled with artifacts from doctors from the early 1900s,
Early 18.
early 19th century. That's what you
early
said.
1800s.
Yeah. So old things, right? Well, we caught some lights. We think are interesting anyway. So watch
We did catch some lights.
on the glass in the upper right hand corner of the cabinet. Okay, just kind of focus your eyes there. There's a couple little lights or white reflections on the left side center. Don't pay any attention to those. They don't do anything. They just sit there. But there's some lights that will come on. This is about a minute long, and it happens a few times. Okay, so we'll go ahead and run that.
Okay, where'd they go?
Yeah, they'll show up.
I'll see them. It's on the left of your screen.
Yep,
There you go.
There.
The top right of that cabinet right there. They just lit up.
there's another one.
Yep. There
There.
you go.
Look at that. There it goes again.
Mm-hmm.
And
And there
again.
it goes again. Yep.
And there's no electronics in there at all.
We called today to make sure, and they said no. I think they go again. Don't they?
I think so.
Yep. It just flickered a little bit.
Yeah. So weird.
There you
it
go.
goes.
Now, what that is, who knows?
And the interesting thing is they're not in the same spot.
No.
Right.
It's
Now,
not like it's
there is-
repeating in one area. It
Yeah.
goes to
Up in that
different-
part of the cabinet, they said there's like an old shock collar that they used in to shock people with
In the early 1800s.
in the early 18th century. So
early 1800s.
1800s. It was somewhere.
I must
It was
have,
old.
have to
A long
keep your
time
kids
ago.
in line.
It was back when Les was a little boy.
When I
Yeah.
was very young.
When you were very young.
When he was just a wee boulder.
Older.
I was still a rock back then.
Just a pebble.
Les and
Anyway.
Rob are the same age, by the way. Oh boy. Anyway, it was an interesting night. Now we do have it's 19 minutes long. It's a recording, and it's the Estes method, and Beth is doing it. And I think it's fascinating. I hope it's not going to be too boring for you. If you get bored, let us know, and we'll turn it off. But there are some
send us an
things.
email.
Beth, do you have anything that you want to add before we watch it?
The only thing I would say is it just sounded like random words coming to me. I had absolutely no idea it was making sense to the rest of the team. So, yeah, I just thought, I'm completely off. I'm not picking anything up. So when I hear this, I was like, wow, something really was happening there. It was surprising to me.
I would like to say one more thing. There is something that we hear, and I'm not sure that you can. We can hear it with headphones when we listen to this from the recorder. This has been transferred over to our computer. There's no way we can force fast forward or anything because of StreamYard. But if you can hear something at the very beginning, you'll hear Jess saying, "Is there anyone here that would like to talk with us?" She said something like that. And if you hear something, please let us know in the comments.
It'll be right away. And then,
It'll be right away.
And then there's a loud noise, which is me saying this is James's room. And then we'll go on with the recording, of course. So here we go. Settle back and enjoy.
At times,
How about this?
dark times.
No, you're further in.
Okay?
Yeah.
Those are dark
We're
times.
together for good for those who love.
Just
Okay.
kidding.
We got to get her back to the beginning.
And Rob mentioned that it was James's room, and James was
Yes.
unfortunate gentleman who hung himself outside the out attic and the
Yes.
landing of the attic.
Okay. Hopefully this will be the beginning. Ready?
Yeah.
Is there someone here who wants to talk to us?
James's room.
Yeah, I heard something. Yeah, so.
We were told Margaret loved this room, that this was your sanctuary.
Margaret Stringer, are you here? Margaret, I understand that you love the Bible. Do you like
Chapter.
chapter and verse? Do you like? How about Romans?
Sing.
Sing.
Can you pause it?
You like to sing? Light. Oh, I know it's a Bible.
Yeah. Joe just asked, did he hear James? You mean other than Rob saying this is James's room?
Are you asking?
I'm asking Joe.
Sorry, I was on mute. That's why I put that up there, because I thought maybe that's what he was saying.
Okay. Yeah, correct.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
That's
know. I
interesting.
didn't hear it. Might have been. And Paul said, "Is this just audio, not seeing anything?"
Yes.
Yeah, this was a digital recording of Beth doing the Estes method. This is just
And
You're
Joe,
not going to see anything exciting. Just
you
listen.
might have heard James
Like
answering
right after?
Jesse at the beginning. Yeah.
Right before my dad says James's room.
Okay, because I heard something right after he spoke.
Okay.
When
Oh,
you
yeah,
when you first
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. When Jesse first said something, I heard like a light tinkling of a bell.
Ooh,
Did you?
really? Let's
Yeah.
start at the
All right,
beginning
let's
again.
start it again.
And it was just ting.
All right. Ready?
Yeah.
We're going to start over, hopefully.
Is there someone here who wants to talk to us?
James' room.
We were told Margaret loved this room. That this was your
Right there, I heard it.
Okay. That's
Stringer, are you here?
yeah. That was just one of our instruments.
Okay.
Margaret, I understand that you love the Bible. Do you like
chapter.
Bible
and
chapter.
verse? Do you like? How about Romans?
Sing.
Then she says, "Sing."
You like to sing? Light. Oh, I know a Bible, a school, Sunday school song. That's the word. Go ahead. Okay. Everybody probably knows it. Join me.
Okay.
This little light of mine.
I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine. Shine. Let
Good.
it shine. Let it shine.
Pause
Thank
it
you.
right there.
You know that's
Okay, so you hear Beth saying that. Beth doesn't know what we're doing. So I think that's amazing because
That is.
one of us said, you know, we understand you like the Bible, and then she says chapter, and then then she tells us to sing, and then she tells us we're doing good. And
What I also thought was interesting was listening back. This is the first time I've listened to it since we were there. She said light
yes,
and then sing. And then I said, well, I know a Sunday school song. And I started singing This Little Light of Mine. And then she said, good.
good. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, that's interesting. That's something I didn't pick up on when we were there, even that
Yeah.
light. And I sang This Little Light of Mine. And then she said, good.
And if you can bear listening to this for 19 minutes, you will find out that later on she's not too happy with me at all.
Not quite as nice. Yeah.
Also, for context, I am across the room from Rob and Joan. You guys were across the room from me and from Beth. So
How come
I'm
you're always keeping your
more quiet.
distance. I mean, you're in the dining room now, and
Listen, you can't be too careful.
Also, when we're doing the Estes method, our tone is
Yes.
matching the words that we're hearing coming through.
Yes.
So if it sounds a little bit later, you'll know what I'm talking about. If it sounds like I'm being rude, I'm really not trying to be rude.
It sounds like Beth is very angry with me.
you could have just said, "I don't like your singing, Joe."
Yes, Margaret gets quite upset with me.
Okay, let's plug on. I think we've listened to all of 3 minutes, maybe.
Yeah,
So
20.
far.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Ready?
you know that song? At times,
How about this?
dark times,
For all things work together for good for those who love the Lord and are called according
We
to his
hope.
purpose. That's right.
Is this Margaret? Hardest with.
We know you love
Jews.
the Bible. Whoa.
The first time.
Some of this is not making sense right now, and bear with us. And you'll hear voices in the background. And that's other people investigating in other
Easily?
rooms. Is this you, Margaret?
Be scared. What should we be scared of? We're not scared. Are you scared?
Do you like, for the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want?
Again.
The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want?
She liked that. So she wasn't mad at me there.
Do you have a favorite Bible verse, Margaret?
Door's open.
Hmm.
Yeah, the door is open. On the roof.
Is there something on the roof?
There was the door. That was where James was.
Oh.
Go.
Hmm.
Where should we go? Do you want us to go?
Was this James' room?
So James was her son who hung himself upstairs.
In the roof, actually.
Mhm.
There's a cupola
Mhm.
up above in the attic there,
Mhm.
and he hung himself up there.
Mhm.
So,
So that
her
was
mentioning
really
the roof was
significant.
very significant. Yeah.
And we had talked about James. We'd asked her about James.
What's coming? That.
What should we get ready for?
Beth had just said, "Here it comes." Somehow that jumped past it. But Beth had just said, "Here it comes," and that one.
Who are we talking to right now? Get ready for it.
Oh yeah.
James, are you here?
La 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 la.
That was Beth.
Is that Gary?
Oh, Jesus, blessing. For the blind.
Wow. This is Margaret.
Oh, is it?
I think so.
Oh, really?
Here's the good news.
Mm.
Oh, you have a suspicion I'm right.
Oh. She was trying to sing.
And she had the nerve to be upset
next
with my
step.
singing.
What is the next step?
The next step.
I want more.
More scripture? Bless the Lord, O my soul, and all that is within me. Bless his holy name.
Prepare.
Prepare for what?
Will. Prepare will? What should we prepare for? It's very frustrating when someone tells you to get ready or prepare, but you don't know what for. Obscenities.
Oh boy.
Policy. Fire.
Jeez. Margaret. Fire and brimstone.
We did ask
I know.
what to prepare for.
I'm always prepared for obscenities, but
Especially living in my house.
ooh, Predator.
There's a predator? Creditor?
I thought she said creditor too.
Tell someone.
I heard predator.
What should we tell
Must have been predator.
Do you like this room?
$50.
Numbers. Yeah.
What does 50 mean?
We were getting a lot of
Don't
numbers.
Oh, these beautiful things that I got.
What-
I
that
think I
was-
added that part.
The reason we stopped it there was to let you know that every single time we go to May Stringer, we get these bizarre numbers. And every spirit says them. They say 70, 100, 50. We talked to the docents about it. It doesn't happen to anybody else, just to our team.
It doesn't happen to us other places, right, guys?
Places,
No,
right?
no.
This is it.
It's May Stringer. We don't know what they're trying to tell us. There's a comment. Margaret is saying more words, maybe even sentences, but the static through the headphones only lets some words through. That could be because, she is saying some things that you kind of can get the gist of, just knowing that she was very religious, was really into the Bible. Her son committed suicide. I think that really bothers her. And I think some of that comes through in what's being said.
What do you think, Beth, based on your experience?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Do you
What
think
do you
that
think
part of what
based
you
on your
were
experience with the Estes method?
Well,
Do
I
you
also
feel that?
think that it takes so much energy for these spirits to communicate with us. And I feel like a lot of times we just get just a few words that are coming through. And I really believe that they might be saying more that we can interpret, but because of their energy is not high enough to actually say like a full sentence.
Yeah, that was a good question, Joe. Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say too that based on my experience doing the Estes method, there are times where I can hear something and I can not make it out, but I can tell that it's something trying to come through.
Yeah.
And I feel like I should be saying whatever it is, but I can't make it out. And even sometimes I will say it out loud, I can't make out what they just were trying to communicate. There's also times where we've heard things like Spanish or different languages that we aren't fluid in that have felt poignant or like they wanted to communicate them.
Mhm.
And we aren't fluent enough or we don't know enough to be able to say those things. So it can be frustrating sometimes.
So Paul says, when you are listening through the headphones, what sort of machine is that hooked to? It's hooked to something called the Spirit Box, but I hate that name. All it is an AM/FM radio that they've geared so that it can run really fast through all of the stations, through multiple stations, and you get white noise with a few words
As a result. Yeah.
as a result. But when you're listening to it, you can tell when the words are words from the radio station, and you can tell when it's spirit over talking those words. It sounds
It's
different.
a lot different.
Right.
Yeah. That's a good question.
Yes, it is a good question because it's confusing what this is,
All right. So
Okay.
I think we're about halfway. So
Well, we're more than halfway. There's only 9 minutes left.
we're about halfway.
Oh, okay.
I haven't kept up on,
It says 9 minutes and 6 seconds,
I
but
know, but-
okay.
but that's not connected to that. So, all right, here we go. Ready?
I got.
Okay. Okay, we won't take any of the beautiful things that you've got.
No, we won't take anything, we promise.
Take.
Cake sounds good.
It feels like. Talk about it. Are you worried?
Yes.
No, you are? I'm not.
Well,
Oh,
thanks.
well, wait a minute. I am.
Need to think about that for a second.
I was like, yes.
Community. Prepare.
Oh, God.
Another prepare.
That is something that's on a lot of our minds right now.
Yeah.
Building community, preparing.
Get her home.
Get who on? Are you okay?
God.
Are you happy?
What if I die? Christian.
I don't know if you heard that. If you could hear what Les said.
Uh-oh.
But she's asking, what if I die?
Maybe better left unsaid.
And Les said, I've got some really bad news. News for you.
Mister.
Oh my God.
We're so reverent, aren't we?
Oh. That's a good question. Joe said, does she not realize she's dead?
Yeah. Well,
I don't know.
she might not.
But thanks to
But
Les,
thanks
she
to
knows.
Thanks to Les, she knows.
Yeah, get a little bit of a hint now. Anyway. Yeah.
No. Here's the thing, though. We didn't get any consistent responses in that line of questioning because I think we're laughing about it, but I don't want people to think we're like making fun of her. We did ask. I don't know if you could hear it, but I said, "Oh," and I think I said, "Do you know that you've passed or something like that, or do you know that you are dead?" I wasn't sure how to phrase the question, but
Yeah, we didn't laugh when we were there, but
Well,
afterwards.
Les did. But
He
Okay.
didn't laugh. He just said it.
oh, okay.
And right now, we're laughing more at Les saying it, not at
Right.
her and her
Right.
Her
situation.
not knowing that,
Exactly. For sure.
correct.
and her not knowing that she's dead. No, we would never do that.
No. Okay.
We were laughing at Les's remark after the fact, away from there, not in front of her. Yeah. Okay.
Ready?
Yes. I'm going to take this away from him. Oh my God. If you listened to the podcast last night, it was sort of like this. Doesn't do any production anymore. Yes, play that.
I'm just saying, Les made me do it.
That's it.
James' room.
No, that was the beginning.
Margaret loved this
No.
room. Thought this was your sanctuary.
Margaret Stringer, are you here? Is that back to the beginning?
Yes,
No,
the beginning.
Oh,
Okay. We're
How'd
not
that
going to
happen?
make them listen to another 20 minutes.
no.
Wait, we have to hear the part where you were singing again.
Well,
Maybe after the 10-minute.
Can you
point.
fast forward it, or it won't do that?
no, because
No?
it's on StreamYard. I wish we
Yeah,
could.
yeah.
Okay, so I will just tell you what happens. So, all right. Is Rob listening for spirits or drinking a few? LOL. All right. We're not going to make you listen to all of that again. But here's what happens. Further on we're asking all these questions and stuff. And she asks us to sing again. And so I said, okay. And I'm trying to think of a song. Jessie had thought of This Little Light of Mine. And she said, Jesus. And I said, okay, a song about Jesus. So I go, Jesus loves me, this I know, for the Bible tells me so. Then
And then things went.
I had a senior citizens moment, and I go, I forgot. And she goes, stop it, stop it, stop it. And I'm like, whoa. As pleased as she was with us singing This Little Light of Mine earlier, she was really mad that I forgot the words to Jesus Loves Me, This I Know. She got quite angry and yelled at me. I mean, really yelled. Do you even remember yelling, stop it, stop it, stop it?
I do.
Oh, the tone of voice, too, was like...
Rude. That was very rude.
No.
That's why I'm like, I'm really just copying what they're saying on the radio. I'm not really angry.
That was really funny, though.
So did it at the clip that we listened to the point we did get to, we did hear Beth said, get her home.
Yes.
And we didn't know what that meant at the time. And then didn't you find out from the author and his wife that were with us more information about that later?
I'm feeling like we did, but what was it?
I think that they were having a conversation and they were kind of in the doorway and they were saying something about they needed to get home or something along those lines.
Oh, yes.
Oh.
And she said his wife needed to get home. You're right. And she said, get her home.
None of us could hear that in the room, but later they brought that up and explained that they had experienced that. And so when that happened for them in the room, they were like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, and I have to say that Steve Altier and his wife Tony came. They had wanted to come on an investigation with us, and afterwards, the next day, they emailed us and they said that they could literally feel the difference in the different rooms as to who was speaking and what spirit was there, and they said that they didn't know that you could actually feel that at the moment, and also I think that they were expecting it to be a lot more well, a lot scarier than it actually is. They were surprised that it was, you were actually communicating with somebody, and
that would be as seen on TV.
Instead of like the stuff you see on TV, that it was a lot more interesting. You could actually feel their personalities come through and stuff like that. But, Robin and Joy, you found that out when you went to Gettysburg. Mm-hmm. You can really feel their personality,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And Gary's very funny, and Margaret was very austere and full of gloom and doom, and happy when we did things right, and then telling us off when we did it wrong. But, and also, we do get very silly. So,
what would be interesting would be if you could find out if there was any sort of writings or something of hers to find out what she was like when she was alive, to see if she had that same personality.
Stern.
Right. And if there was a diary somewhere, somebody had, kept a, that would be very
To hear
interesting.
her voice patterns, or what do I mean? Yeah,
I
just
think
the
her
way she
voice is a good way
spoke.
to say it.
That would
Yeah.
Yeah.
Her tone.
So then we
Her
were
tone.
doing another Estes method in another room. We don't have the recording of that. I mean, we do have the recording of that. We're not going to play that for you. It's really long and boring. Like Paul said, are we going to see the video or just this audio? And it at the beginning, and there were cat balls in there, of course. We have cat balls everywhere. And
Those
Jessica,
balls are everywhere.
did you just put the cat ball down?
Yes.
Oh, I remember. This was the whole "did I break your cat balls" thing. Yes. Okay. So Just puts this cat ball down, and in 2 seconds, it lit up and it went flying across the floor, heading right towards Rob, and actually came up and hit him.
Yeah.
And I said, "Oh, the floor must be tilted. It's an old house. It must be on level."
When you say it came flying at him and hit him, you mean it rolled across the ground and hit his feet.
Really fast.
It hit his feet,
Fast
yes.
pace.
But at a very fast pace, yes,
Yeah.
like
Yes.
wham.
Like Jesse threw it.
But she hadn't. She just said
As
it
if I had
very-
rolled it across the ground really fast, like put it down and rolled it. But I put it down and everyone looked at it and it was still.
Mhm.
And after I was stepped away from it and everything, it rolled.
fast at him,
Yes.
directly at him.
Yes.
And then at that point I said, "Oh, the floor must be uneven, huh? It must be tilted that way. I mean, that's what must have happened." And Beth said, "Yes, it must be. It's an old house." So then I go and I set it down the same place, and it just stays there. And I said, "Oh, it isn't. The floor isn't tilted." And then Jess says, "Well, wait a minute. I think I had it over here." And she resets it down to where she thinks she had it exactly. And it just stayed there. So
And-
yes, go ahead.
I was just going to say, on top of that, not only were we moving where we were placing it, but we were waiting for it to be steady. And then Dad was standing in the same spot and he was stomping his feet even, which he hadn't been doing the first time, but he was stomping his feet. And we were trying to, yeah, or even the people across the room that were on the other side of the room, maybe some vibration over there, right? With the old floors. We try to figure out or debunk with real world situations what could be causing that to happen, and we couldn't recreate it. It was pretty interesting.
So I forget who was doing the Estes method in that room. Was
Brad.
it you? Dad was doing the
Brad.
Brad. Oh, Brad. Our son-in-law Brad was doing it. So Brad was doing the Estes method, and this had all happened, right? The ball had come rolling quickly towards Rob, and then we heard this thing like bouncing, like bum 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 bum, and I said,
It
"What
sounded
is
like somebody dropped a bouncy ball, like took a bouncy ball and
Right.
dropped it,
exactly
and it
what
was
sounds like?"
close to the floor and went boo, 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 and
That's
bounced.
what we said on the recording.
It said we said that on the recording. You can hear it on the recording, and it happened a couple of times, and a couple of us, mentioned it, and then again I hear it. I said it again. I said, "What is that?" And over the Estes method, Brad says, he's listening to what he's trying to hear the spirit say. He said, "That's the chair." Okay. I didn't hear
I think
him
he just
say
said
that,
chair.
or
Just
the
chair.
Okay,
Yeah.
chair. And I didn't really hear him say that in the moment. And then Steve Altier said, "Oh, that's the chair. He had been hitting it or bumping into it or something." and it had like rubber on the bottom. And he said, it's the chair here. And he made it sound again. So then when we were going through the digital recordings, I was really surprised because the spirit had said, it's the chair, before we knew it was the chair. I mean, that to me was remarkable. So those two things happened, and that was in the communications room.
And to mention also that now there are no records of how young 3-year-old Jessie had passed, but the stories of the home is that she had fallen over the balcony just outside that door of the communications room, which her nursery was adjacent to the communications room. So I found that a playful entity or playing with the cat ball, it could possibly be a child.
Yeah.
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 Also, the chair that we're talking about was a tiny child's chair. It's like a 2-foot tall chair, like a little, very small chair that you would use for kids or even a doll. So that even reinforces that idea, right? That maybe they're familiar with that sound.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oftentimes, people will take pictures outside of the house and they'll see whether it's an orb or a mist or that they feel is baby Jessie just outside that room on the balcony.
And when you guys went during COVID and Rob and I couldn't go, and you'd asked me to do the Estes method.
Yeah.
I mean, the Estes method. I mean, remote
viewing.
And I'd never done it before. One of the things that I got was a mother standing by a cradle and crying over the loss of a child. Yeah, Joe Condell said that would make sense, as the cat probably wouldn't have rolled it so fast at Rob. Yeah, no, I think that was a person for sure. Yeah, maybe the child, yeah. But I didn't realize until tonight that the mom had already died. So I think what I was seeing was the spirit of the mom and the spirit of the child.
Yeah.
And I'd seen that in the upper bedroom where yeah. And I saw the house, and that's when I was like, yeah, I guess I can do this. Paula says, changing the subject a little, do spirits ever talk about heaven or hell or another sort of afterlife? I'm looking for a loophole here. I've never heard a spirit talk about heaven or hell or where they are or any of that.
Most of the times when we encounter spirits, they want to talk to us about how they passed. That happens a lot. A lot of times they'll give us the pain, the sensitives in the room will feel a pain describe that would describe how they passed. So we see that a lot, but I've never heard of any of them talking about heaven or hell or where they are. Mostly just their past life.
I remember when I was at your school and I was in that hallway and I started coughing all of a sudden.
Yes.
And I said to you, I felt like it was, that priest.
Yes.
And you said that's how he died, right? Something to do with the lungs or something like that?
Yes.
Yeah. So things like that happen.
We have asked people or whoever we're communicating with, do you need help? And are you afraid or things like that? And we've gotten a lot of times people or whoever we're communicating with saying that they're happy and they're good.
Yeah. A lot of them were happy.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yep. And we've, yeah, Rob and I have communicated actually with a Confederate soldier in Gettysburg, not this last time, but before a time before that, who was afraid to pass on. And after we talked with him and prayed with him, he felt better and he did pass on. And so we've had that happen because he hadn't passed on. So he was like in a no man's land, you know, he was in between. He hadn't moved on. Joe Conjal said, but a spirit can choose to stay in a home or other place, correct? Yeah, they're not, seldom are they. Paula says, very interesting, thanks.
In fact, when we were in Gettysburg, we had asked, and she was waiting for her husband, which was very sad.
Right.
But I mean, of course, he had passed long before then, but he must have passed maybe in the war, and she hadn't realized it.
He was off fighting the war, and that was Georgia, right?
Georgia, yes.
Yeah, and he had been off fighting the war, and she was killed, and probably didn't even realize he was.
Yeah,
that's sad.
it's so sad.
But she was with her child, so that was good.
Yes.
But Paul, I had a near-death experience. If you're interested in me telling you that, I can tell you what I saw and what happened to me. I won't tell you the whole thing, but I will tell you this part, that at the time I was a practicing Catholic. And so, you know, as a Catholic, you go to confession and you confess your sins and you receive absolution from a priest, and you have to do your penance, whatever he tells you to do. And one of the things that you do is you say the act of contrition, and which is when you're asking for forgiveness for your sins. And I had died from a vaccine. I'd had anaphylactic shock, and I'd been, you know, I had gone through a lot of things, and then all of a sudden, and they were working on me in a surgical room, and I lifted up out of my body, and I could see my body, and I started going down this corridor, and as I did, I started to say the act of contrition, and I immediately knew I didn't need to be worried about that, and I felt happy, and I felt peace, and I felt all I can tell you is I felt real joy, and I was floating around
And no pain anymore, right? You had
no
been feeling a lot
pain.
yeah.
I'd had a lot of pain because I was, you know, my body was flopping around like a fish out of water, and my grandmother and aunt were in the waiting room with my two children, my a 2-year-old and a 1-year-old. And my grandmother, I could hear my grandmother crying and saying to my aunt, oh my God, what's going to happen to these babies if Joni dies? And and my kids were everything to me, and I have tremendous anxiety. I have that problem, and I wasn't even worried about them. I knew they were going to be okay. And so to me, that was the biggest thing, because that was before I started going down the corridor. And then I started going down this corridor, and I saw certain things, and I was feeling very happy and very joyful and very much at peace. I wasn't worried about my children. I knew they were going to be okay. And I saw light, a very bright light, and I was approaching the light quickly. And then all of a sudden, I was told I had to go back, that I wasn't finished. And I went back into my body and all the pain. And I was very, very unhappy then. But I really am not worried about dying anymore. I don't think any of us need to worry about it.
Can I say something?
Sure.
I was in a really bad car accident when I was 3 years old. Our car got hit, flipped on the side. I hit the door, broke the door, was thrown out and down the road like 50 feet, and lost so much blood that they had to cut my veins open to give me more blood. And because I had so much internal bleeding and blah, blah, blah. But I remember when I finally remembered the accident, because I had like a mental block for 9 years. When I finally remembered it, I remembered watching from above my brother get stitches above his eye. I was in the emergency room, but then it was separate from all this somehow. I don't really know how, but I was taken away with another little girl, and wasn't a light. It was this beautiful forest, and there was a very tall person looking down at both of us, and he said, "One of you can go home, one of you will come with me." And I said, "I want to go home to my family." And then when I woke up, they took me off the critical list, but another little girl in the ward died.
Oh.
So, like, I don't know if that's like, is that typical? Who knows? Because you had a totally different experience, like what I've heard about, but this is what
But actually,
happened to me.
mine was very similar to yours, though. When you think about it, when you listen to what you just said, you went and you watched your brother getting stitches.
Right.
I
Right.
kind of floated around the hospital for a while before.
And I went to a forest.
What I didn't say about that corridor is that there were very tall beings there, which I later identified as angels. But I mean, they were big, like 30 feet tall, and
Right.
so I think I was headed to heaven. Joe says, "Joan, did you remember everything that happened immediately, or did it come to you later?" Oh, I remembered everything immediately. And not only did I remember it immediately, but I told the doctors, I told the nurses, I told my grandmother and my aunt. My grandmother was like, now, my grandmother was Irish Catholic. And so I told her what she had said to my Aunt Catherine. And she goes, "Jesus, Mary, and St. Joseph." "How did you know that?" And I said, "I told you. I was out of my body and I heard you say it." And the doctor said that I had been clinically dead for just a few minutes, and that there was lack of oxygen, and they had pumped me full of morphine because I was in so much pain. And he said that it was a combination of those two things, that I hallucinated all that, and that I just, I hallucinated it, and that I knew what my grandmother would have said. Okay, that I knew my grandmother well, and that explained that. So for many, many years, I believed that. And then probably, I don't know, 20 years later, I was watching an Oprah Winfrey show, and it was when she was having these afterlife people come on and talk. And I was like, holy crap, that's what happened to me, And then I stopped believing the doctor.
I do want to point out that it was interesting because Joe asked that, and before you read his question, Robin brought up that it took her 9 years to remember what happened to her.
I thought so too.
Mhm.
Yeah, she didn't know Joe had asked that question.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, and I mean, to remember any of it, like if anybody even brought it up, I had no idea what they were talking about. And then one morning I woke up and I remembered it all.
Wow.
In fact, now 65 years later, I still can feel the action of me climbing over the seat. This is from the accident, and the car being hit, and me flying across the car and hitting the door and breaking it, and seeing the things in the hospital, and remembering, looking down at my brother and remembering being taken. It it was like almost like in order for it to be a permanent memory, it had to wait till I got a little older. Because when you're younger, those they slip away. But yeah, that's all these years later, it may as well have been yesterday.
Did you answer
Yeah.
this one?
No, I didn't. Joe Conjal asked, how long did those few minutes feel like to you? Well, I was only gone, I think, for literally just a few minutes. They never told me like 3 or 5 or whatever, but nothing like 15. It was just a few minutes. But it seemed like a really long time because, I floated around the hospital for a while. I was watching the doctors and the nurses and what they were doing. And I heard what the doctors were saying to the nurses. I watched that whole scene, and then I floated out to my. I kind of looked around the hospital a little bit and found my grandmother and my aunt and my kids there, and heard them talking. And I wasn't feeling worried about the kids, and it didn't even dawn on me that I wasn't worried because I live with so much anxiety all the time.
And you said one of your dogs came to meet you.
Well, yeah, I didn't tell them that part, but you know how people always say people come to greet them and to bring them into heaven. One of my dogs came and ran up to me and started jumping up on my knees, and yeah, that was cool. So it seemed like a long time to me, but a lot longer than a few minutes. But it was just a few minutes.
What about for you, Robin? Do you have any recollection in your memory of the time from when you were seeing your brother getting the stitches and all that stuff?
I don't. I mean, I really have no idea as far as time frame. Like I said, when it all came back to me, it came back all of it, but not like all those months in the hospital didn't come back to me as months of time. It's all compressed, so I don't know.
Yeah.
This thing that Joe's saying, maybe time slowed down for you but stayed normal for everyone you were observing. That's a very interesting idea, because I know we were in a car accident out in California before we moved here to Florida, and we were in slow motion. I swear to God, it was slow motion.
For me too.
During the accident. As it was happening, it was slow motion. So,
and there was no sound.
And time was just like, time was altered. But to us,
we were broadsided.
Yeah.
And then the car was spinning like that.
Yeah, somebody ran the stoplight at 50 miles an hour and T-boned us, and we spun around a couple times.
And then we landed against a telephone pole.
So it all happened very quickly, but it seemed like
it was like,
time. Wow, very, very slow. So I can see time being distorted.
And no sound at all.
Right.
And then as soon as we hit that second telephone pole, a lot of sound and
swearing and stuff.
And ambulances and being taken away to the hospital and all that kind of stuff happened.
I can see that time could be distorted, and slowed down.
Yeah, maybe time did slow down, because time did slow down for us. Because I asked him afterwards, I said, did that seem like it was in slow motion to you? And he said, yes. And I said, was there any sound? Did you hear any sound before we landed up against the telephone pole? And he said, no, nothing. I mean, no sound, just the car was going like this very slowly. And then it went bam. Yeah, car accidents are fun.
I do not recommend them.
I also don't recommend seizures or having anaphylactic shock. It's not funny.
Avoid them.
Yeah. Seizures are not fun. Your whole body is like so full of pain afterwards. It's ridiculous because every muscle is being contorted in a way it shouldn't go.
So hopefully we'll go back to May Stringer next November, Les.
It could happen.
It could happen, right?
Yeah.
It's tradition now.
Yeah.
I think
And they
Mark,
asked us today if we were coming back.
yeah.
They
Yeah.
said, "We hope you're coming back." And we
They
said,
like us there.
Well, we figure out a day that they're not having a carnival downtown.
Yeah.
Veterans Day weekend, yeah.
Not Veterans Day.
No.
and not Thanksgiving.
Right.
Yeah. And the
And that's
reason we go in November, in case you're wondering, is because they are booked all the time. So you have to book them a year out.
And it gets very hot in that attic in the summertime.
Oh boy. Yeah.
I bet.
Not at Halloween.
No. No. No.
Maybe early December, because they do make the house look really beautiful for Christmas. So I
They
was sad.
do.
Yeah. I was sad we missed the Christmas decorations.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a really great place. If anybody else has a chance to make it there, just take a tour. It's beautiful home, and they're very proud of it, and
Yes.
they take very good care of it.
Yeah, the
They're
folks
so-
that run it are very nice.
So lovely, and they volunteer, so they don't have to be there, but they enjoy it, and it's very obvious. They're lovely.
Yeah. Robin and Joy, you'd love it.
Yes.
You'd have so much fun there.
And where is it again? In Texas?
It's about 20 miles north of Tampa, Brooksville.
Oh, okay. It's in Florida. It's in Florida.
Yeah.
Okay.
Brooksville, Florida.
Joy,
Yeah.
we might have to make a trip
Yeah.
Yeah.
in November, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really
I don't know.
great.
How's it yeah. We may be making a trip because we have, I have a good friend there that lives in Hudson. And
Okay.
so we were talking about making a trip in spring, hoping to see you guys too, because we're going to be in the area.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
We should,
Hudson's not far from
yeah. We'll
Brooksville.
see if we can do something. Investigate somewhere when you're going to be here.
Right? Maybe the train.
Terry's
That would be cool.
Yeah. Terry's going to be like, "Well, you're going to make me do this again?"
And Robin can drive down for one of the days and drive back.
Right? Yeah. We know you like that.
Yeah.
So
It's Hudson's
28
only a
hours?
38-minute drive from Hudson to Maystringer, so
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. You're practically there.
there's also
How
a
far
train
is-
depot
is-
there.
Tampa, like from Orlando, that area.
Hour. We were just there Monday.
Yep. Hour and 15 minutes.
Hour 15 minutes or so.
Okay. Because
Or-
actually, my brother and sister-in-law were talking about maybe going because our parents lived in just outside of Orlando, and they met a lot of people, and they said, well, we should go back sometime and see them. And I said, okay, I'll go, and then I'll keep going. And then I'll keep going. I
Depends
didn't
on
realize it was that
traffic.
close.
Traffic is awful, but yeah.
Yeah.
It could be 1 hour. It could be 3 hours.
Yes.
Well, it's like going from here to New York. It's 105 miles, and it can take you 8 hours sometimes.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Traffic everywhere, I guess. Well,
All right.
does anyone else have anything else to say about Maystringer? I'm sorry that someone messed up the recording.
Les made it.
It was me.
Yeah. You're the tech guy.
I'm it.
Just a couple of boulders. I don't know.
That's it.
And if anyone has any ideas for topics for upcoming shows, please let us know.
Yeah.
We'd love to cover anything that you have interest in.
Yeah.
Mhm.
December 19th is the next day. That'll be the week before Christmas, the Thursday before Christmas.
Oh,
Yeah.
I won't be
that's-
able to do
Might
it.
be tough for me.
Yeah,
Well-
my younger brother and sister-in-law are going.
Well, we
They're-
might want to wait until January then.
Well, yeah, we could wait and have the next one in January.
You may need to.
I mean, you don't have to wait for me, but that would be nice. I
I
don't
think
feel-
everybody's busy just before
Yeah.
Christmas. I think the 19th is a really bad idea.
So
myself.
everybody listening,
Yeah.
just keep watching the Haunted Campfire Tales live our Haunted Campfire Tales Facebook page, and we'll get that information out to you.
Yeah.
And you could get ideas from them too, right? Of if they
Yes,
have any.
that's what we're asking.
Yeah.
Beth
Yeah.
was asking
Yeah.
if you have something you want us to look into or talk about or research, we're happy to do it. And I don't know if Margaret does know that she's dead or not, but she did ask that, which was interesting.
If you have any suggestions, Les at lesgree28@aol.com or Kristen at krenish@gmail.com. Yes.
Yeah, that one right there.
Great. And we do have several other team members. I know it's just kind of us on the podcast, but we have several other team members who are a little camera shy.
Yeah, we do. We have a lot of other team members.
And they're like corporeal. They're not spirits.
Yeah.
Right.
They're in body.
Yeah.
Exactly. We had a big group at
May Stringer.
May Stringer. We had 13 people there.
Wow.
Yep.
That's neat.
Yeah.
And not all of our members were there.
It's a big house.
Yeah. Our daughter and her husband wanted to come. One of our other daughters and her husband wanted to come. And then, like I said, Steve Altier and his wife Tony wanted to come. And they had such a great time that they want to go again. Any place that will let them go, they will come.
That's good. I'm never sure when they get exposed to
The group.
full force of us.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Never sure.
We're a bit much.
Just
Turn around, you look for them. They're sneaking out the door.
backing slowly away into the bushes. Yeah, exactly.
Tiptoeing.
Yeah, when we first walked into May Stringer, Kathy, who is Beth's sister, she and her husband are members of the team. Kathy and I were setting some stuff up, and one of the things that we were setting up was one of those flashlights on a table in the dining room. And as soon as I put it down, it turned on. And, and I
then it
began
turned off by itself also.
And then it turned off. And then I started to ask questions. First thing I said was, could you turn that on again? And there was never, ever another thing all night with a flashlight anywhere in the whole house.
You just never know what they're going to use to, as when we were in Gettysburg, they used the REM pods a lot, which
And the
was
flashlights.
kind of annoying with the sound.
Yeah,
But
too much.
they chose to use those REM pods. So you just never know what they're going to manipulate.
They were using the REM pods, the flashlights, and the cat balls at May Stringer. At Gettysburg, they were using everything.
Yeah.
But they were using the REM pods up in the attic this time. They were constantly going off.
Yeah, they were. We did ask them to back off from them because the noise from the REM pod is really annoying.
Yeah.
Really annoying. And we finally said, please step away from the REM pod.
And you might think that
conferring to each other and going, hit it again.
Yeah, we don't like it. Go ahead.
Well, only if it's spirits like you and me, Robin, one day when we pass.
Yeah, you guys, watch out.
We're like, you touch it now. But you might think it's disappointing when we don't get results, but it's actually like really validating for the other times when you do have experiences or you do have results. And especially when we have the same equipment and the same team, even at the same place sometimes, and we have different experiences, I find it very validating for the other experiences we have in a weird way, because sorry for the beeping, but you can kind of rule out that your equipment just does that all the time. In other words, right? Like
That's it.
Right.
it doesn't.
Well, if you go on the internet, a lot of people, if you read on the internet, a lot of people say that flashlight experiment is just the batteries heating up and turning the light on and off by itself. And so what just means was like that night we had them on all night long, which was what, 5 hours that we were there. And they never turned on again, except after that one time, all night.
And it was not cold, by the way.
Right.
No. And they never turned on. And that's what she's saying, because then when we're asking questions and we're getting responses from the flashlight in response to our questions, that's very validating, because we know that there are other times when we're doing the same thing and we're not getting any response at all from the flashlight or the REM pod. Sometimes the REM pod never goes off.
Or
Sometimes we'll have the
spirit
REM pod.
box.
Yeah. There any of our equipment. Sometimes there are times when we get really responses, and other times there's nothing happening with those. I can think of lots of nights where the only thing happening with the REM pod was temperature change.
Yeah.
That's going to, that could be anything, a draft in the room or just the temperature in the room changing. So, so when it is going off all the time, something's causing it to go on and off. And you can't turn that on or off. You can't make that go off unless you touch it. The temperature change, that can go on and off from the room. But in order for it to make a sound, somebody has to get this close to it to make that sound.
Right.
So it's fascinating. And like Jess said, validating when it doesn't work the same way all the time.
Right.
There's a comment.
Joe says, much more believable to others if you're not getting results every time. And that is very true. That is for sure.
And what's interesting is also that we have gone to May Stringer multiple times, and Beth and Les have gone even more times than the rest of us have. And it's a different experience every time.
And each room is different.
The only
the
thing that
experience
is
in each room is different.
Yes, and each room is different too, except for one thing, and that's the stupid numbers. We get numbers
Yeah, the
every time
numbers.
we're there.
And that's
We have
just a
spirits
nice
telling us numbers: 50, 17, 100, 70. We're like,
I don't remember if we said this earlier, but we kept getting 70 this past time.
yeah.
So finally, at one point, we said, "What is 70?" And then whoever it was, I think it was my sister doing the Estes method, and responded, "It's a code." We were like, "What? What is the code?
And
we
were in
don't
the
know the
communications
code."
room.
What
And
probably
we were
happened,
in the communications room.
yeah, probably what happened was those are the winning lottery numbers, and the spirit knew it. And they gave us the winning lottery numbers, and we went, "What are those?"
Or it's a secret in a Da Vinci painting, and you've just got to find it.
That's
There
right.
you go. There you go.
Yeah.
I went really. This time I went back, and that's why I was so late getting out to the parking lot, you guys. Was I went in and I talked to Jen. Jen is one of the docents, and I said, "Do people get numbers here all the time?" And she said, "What do you mean numbers?" And I said, "The spirit are always giving us numbers. They'll say 70, 100, 17, 50." And she said, "No." And I said, "We get numbers every single time we come here." And she said, "Huh." She said, "Well, a lot of people died here." And I said, "I don't think that's it, because I mean, I'm 100. Remember,
Yeah.
not this last time, but the time before that, we kept getting 100 in all different rooms from different spirits and different people on the Estes too. It was like what the heck is 100? I almost used a bad word. No wonder she was talking about obscenities. Joe Poncho said, I like Rob's idea. Write the numbers down, play them on the lottery.
Yeah.
There you go.
We're a little late, I think.
Yeah. Well, this time we were told it's a code. Now, maybe next time they'll tell me what the code is for.
Yeah.
Was this all in the same room? Were there any documents or books around?
No, it's in different. It's in
Different
all the rooms that we go into. There,
Different rooms, but I do want to point out we did look because it said
Yeah,
it's
we
a
looked-
code, and then it said, then we also got look around, and we were like,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah,
So
that's
we were
right.
yeah,
looking at
we
all the
did.
cases. There's display cases.
There are a lot of display cases, and in the communication room, there's a lot of numbers because there's all kinds of
Switches.
switchboards and stuff, and also like books and things like that in the display cases, like antique books and things like that. So, and people's names and numbers and things like that. So we did look for that, but couldn't find anything that made any sense
Pattern.
with the numbers that we looked for.
Paul Hollis says, maybe it's the radio stations your box is cycling through. Well, if we would be getting those numbers everywhere else we went, if that was it. And plus, usually on a radio station, they usually say FM 118, or something like that. These are just 50, 17, 100. And I mean, they're said like that by
Yeah.
the spirits. They're like telling you something. 70. I wish you could hear it yourself, what it's like. It's like very strange.
Frustrating.
Unless Paul means they're hearing those numbers and repeating them to you and think they're a code.
Yeah. Could be.
Don't know. Because otherwise, but other spirits
why
would
would
hear
it
it
just
too.
be
Yeah.
why would it just be at May Stringer?
Right.
It's wacky. I mean, we've
I
done
want
a
to
lot
get
of
in there and look for documents.
Yes.
There are many in there, because it is a museum and there's a lot in all the cases, and there are photos with numbers and people.
Yeah.
And we looked, and I was
Wow.
trying to listen because it was like, look around, it's a code. And I'm like, what is the code? I could not find any specific correlation with the numbers that we were getting specifically.
Right.
I don't know.
Joe says,
But I could
do
have
they
been
ever
missing it. I
say
could have been missing it.
after the
So
numbers?
possible.
Do they ever say hey after the
Yeah, blue 42.
No. Yeah. It's crazy. I think one of my favorite stories though is when we were at another place in Brooksville. There's a train station, an old train station that's also haunted. And we were in there, and Jess was, I think it was Jess doing the Estes method. And you kept getting one word repeatedly. And what was that, Jess?
Hope.
Hope.
Hope. Hope. Hope. Like,
So the rest of us
more
are
and more
saying,
intense.
is your name Hope? Is your first name Hope? Do you need hope?
What are you hoping for?
What do you?
We were trying everything.
Oh, I guess we didn't say is your name Hope because that would have worked. But and then it was getting very much like the stop it that we got from Margaret this time. Was
Repeatedly,
hope,
like hope, like very intense.
So we were packing up to leave later on, and Rob, you tell what
Yeah, I
happened
was
then.
looking in there was display cases there as well because it's historical. And I said, wait a second, the guy's name that founded the whole
county
was Hope. That was his last
William
name.
Hope.
William Hope.
William Hope. And a picture of him was sitting across from where I was sitting
Right.
in
Oh,
a frame.
wow.
It said William Hope.
It was dark.
It was dark. I had a blindfold on. I had not seen that
Yeah.
and had no idea
The whole
until
display case full of all stuff around his house and history about the county and everything. So that's who
That's
we were
neat.
talking to, apparently.
He was very upset that we didn't
Didn't
know
know
that
who
it
the
was
heck he
him.
was. He was
Because
pretty
he was
important.
important.
Oh, what's wrong with you people? Oh,
You got caught in your hair. Oh.
Don't you ever look Bob Hope?
We don't get our clues real easily sometimes.
I know.
50, 70.
I
We're trying to figure out codes.
Yeah.
I think sometimes these spirits must think these people are so dense.
So dense. Yeah.
Hope, damn it.
I'm telling them, and they keep asking, "What's your name?" Yeah,
Weird.
it's like, yeah. Paul House says, "Just being funny. Do you feel lucky? Go for the lottery numbers."
Right?
Yeah.
I know. It's like, I do think, that they get frustrated, um, that they're unable to communicate what they're trying to say, and that we don't understand what they're trying to say. And we've had them tell us they're tired. We heard that a lot
Yeah.
at May Stringer this time from multiple spirits in different rooms. We're tired, and they're saying we're tired.
Do they have a lot of people pass through there to do investigations? Yeah.
All the time.
Mhm.
I think I would be getting tired of that too.
Right.
Every Saturday.
Ugh.
And we went one year, it didn't know it, but it had been Founders Day. So all day people had been cycling through taking tours, and we got absolutely nothing that time we went because they
They've
were
had enough.
they had no energy left.
Yeah.
Joe says it's like who's on first, LOL. It is. It is. It's like who's on first. Hope, 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 hope. Paul Hollis said, I understand you can tell the difference when a male and female are speaking.
A lot of times.
No,
It gets touched once in a while.
Yeah. Sometimes I only know if it's asked specifically,
When I've done it, when I've done the Estes method, yeah, sometimes I can tell it's a male and sometimes I can tell it's a female, but sometimes too, I don't know about the rest of you, but I'll get more than one person speaking to me at the same time. And then it's hard for me to tell who's who
Right.
and who's trying to say what,
I get
Then
a lot of readings in my body, so it will tell me if I'm speaking with a male or a female. And male presence are usually much heavier. A lot of times when I'm communicating with a female spirit, it feels kind of like a warm embrace. And with the males, it feels more heavy, and the air feels heavier. So that's not always, but oftentimes.
when we were at the place in Texas, what was the name? Hill House?
Full House. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we were doing the flashlight. I could definitely tell that was a female spirit. I felt that was a female spirit, but that's not from a voice or anything. That was just from her presence in the room. I could feel that she was a female spirit. And actually, when I've been in, I want to say James's room. James's room is the one that has the tuxedo hanging on the wall and like
It's all the dresses in it.
the dresses. Okay. Often when I go into James's room, I can feel a male presence in, I don't think it's James though. And I often feel a male presence in that room, but this time it was Margaret. It was a female.
Yeah.
And could you tell that was a woman, Beth?
Actually, I wasn't feeling any impressions. That's why I was surprised that so much came through on the SDs, because I really wasn't feeling it at night.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, so I thought I was just absolutely cold that night.
Oh no, it was really really you hear somebody saying, "Was that Gary?" Because you went la la la, like Gary usually does upstairs, you
Right,
know.
right, yeah.
And
Maybe
that
it
could
was
have been.
Margaret trying to sing. Oh,
Joe asked, do you ever smell anything like cologne or perfume when you're talking with the spirit?
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
that's a lot of people that is their gift, that they'll get the smells. And actually, Les, who's
I
not,
smelled flowers once.
he did.
Wow.
You
Once.
can
I can't
never
believe
say,
you're
"I
admitting
never
it.
feel anything. I never see anything. I never
You
hear
can't say that
anything again."
anymore.
I smell things.
White flowers, he said. He smelled white
Yep.
flowers.
Wait,
When
Wow.
we got
The
to
gardenia.
May Stringer, the docent Jen said that they had smelled like something baking, like cookies baking or
Right.
something like that before we got there.
I was smelling baking too at
Mhm.
Maestro. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yet they didn't serve us any cookies.
No, and we asked them why they didn't.
Huge disappointment.
What?
We asked the spirits why they didn't. You're baking.
Yeah. Could you
Give
share?
us some. Yeah. What? Tell them about what the spirit did with your drink, Jess.
The last time, so last November, I had come straight from a tattoo appointment and I was running late. And I had stopped to get food on the way, and I had a water, like a big thing of water, and the docents had asked me to leave it in the front entryway. And there were a couple of chairs there. And when you go to investigate, the docents will stay there at the house and leave you completely alone to investigate, but they will stay there so that they can lock up and everything when you're done. And they were sitting in that front room reading and just sitting there quietly. And they heard my straw in my cup, which was sitting on the ground, move. You know that sound when a straw moves
Yeah.
up and down in a you
Mhm.
know the top of a lid of a to-go cup. So it moved up and down, and the docent looked over and said, "Are you drinking her water?" And so I came downstairs later to get a drink of water, and I picked it up. I started drinking it, and they told me that, and I was like, "Could I be? Is this?"
Yeah. What did you die of? Was it contagious?
Is there ectoplasm in here?
Little spittles of ectoplasm down.
Yeah. Ectoplasm backwash or something. No, it was fine. It was totally fine, but it was funny.
And I think we told you that the last time that we went to Gettysburg, the spirit on the bridge there was smoking a cigarette. And we had lit it up for him and set it down on a wall or a railing, and he was smoking it, puffing it. That was crazy.
I get whiffs of cigarette smoke in my house, and like my first husband, who passed in 2013, he was a heavy smoker. And the thing is, I have a couple of pieces of furniture that were at his house, so I'll always run over and stick my nose on them. I'm like, no, they don't smell. Like, are you coming here to visit me? Because it gets really strong and it lasts like 6 minutes, then it goes away. The other morning though, I woke up to the smell of burgers. I'm like, I have no idea.
Yeah.
The cigarette
Somebody's like, sorry, wrong house.
letting you know that he's there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Smell the cigarette smell. We went to a private residence, and one of the things that I picked up was I said, it sounds like ice tinkling in a glass. And I thought the man that lived there his jaw just dropped, because he said, okay, my ex-husband he was an alcoholic. And he said anytime you saw him, he had this little glass of bourbon with ice in it. And
Wow.
so, yeah.
And how he held the glass.
And exactly how he held the glass and everything, we were able to determine. That was him telling us who he was. He was identifying himself.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And smells are a really good way to identify somebody. You know, like when grandmother always wore, I think it was called Evening in Paris, but it's a very distinct smell. I mean, I can still smell it. And when she would be around, I would smell that every time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I do think it's like Beth said, the way they pass, sometimes they'll let you feel that, you know. Not always the best feeling to feel the way a person is passing, but you can feel it. And they'll often do that to signal who they are and how they passed, and smells. And yeah, it's fascinating. It really is.
Yeah. Well, we are coming up on 2 hours here.
We better let everybody go.
So,
Yeah.
Well, I hope everybody has a nice Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Same to everybody. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
thank you
Yeah.
all for
Wonderful
joining us
Thanksgiving.
tonight. And watch our Facebook page for updates.
Yeah, probably not till January now. Then we'll give everybody a break for December. There's 2 comments.
Got a couple of great conversation tonight. Thanks, Rob, Joan, Les, Beth, Jess, Robin, and Joy. You, Joe.
Thank
Good.
you.
Good night, Joe.
And Paul Hollis. Very interesting show. Thanks, one and all. Thank you, Paul.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Good night, Paul.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And so I guess until next time,
That's all, folks.
Alrighty.
bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, y'all.